Hi, good day. It's Abdul here again, and in today's episode, I'll be discussing about emergency fund. How can you set emergency fund, and why emergency fund is important. In my last video, I discussed about how to live a debt-free life, and one of the tips I gave in the episode is to have an emergency fund in place in order to cover unplanned expenses. So I'm actually diving more into what an emergency fund is and how can you set emergency fund in place, because it's actually very important aspects of our life. So what does emergency fund mean? So emergency fund is a money set in place to cover unplanned expenses. What are unplanned expenses? Maybe you lose your job, you have a car damage, your house repair, or any other thing that you didn't plan for. That is an expenses you have to cover, so you don't have to remove it from maybe your daily money or maybe your salary to cover it, or you don't have to get into debt for all those expenses. So that's why I'll be diving into what an emergency fund is and how can you set one for yourself. So what's the best way to set an emergency fund for yourself? The best way to set an emergency fund for yourself is to have a separate account apart from your normal daily account. Then you start taking out money from your earnings into that account. So maybe you have a job that pays you every month, you remove out some certain percentage from that job and you put it into that account every month. Or maybe you are a business owner, you take out some amount of money that will not harm your business every day or maybe every week. After calculating your profit from that business, then you put it into a certain account beneficial for you when you get into something unplanned, when you get into an expenses you didn't plan for. Maybe you are a gig worker, you are a freelancer, you start taking some percentage of money you earn online into an account that will actually help you when there is an unplanned expenses. So the best way to set an emergency fund is to set a percentage of your money. So the best percentage, or the best things I've been hearing from people, is to have the 50-30-20% rule in your life. The 50% of your earnings should go into what? Should go into your daily life expenses, and 30% of your earnings should go into other necessary things you need to do in your life, while the 20% of your earnings should go into the saving accounts you set for your emergency fund. So those are how to set emergency fund. For anyone looking for a way to set emergency fund, you can actually contact me to give you more details or more plan or a template you can use to set that for yourself. So now, why is emergency fund important? You've been hearing emergency fund, I've been discussing about it. I discussed about it in my earlier episode. So why is emergency fund will come to your rescue anytime you have an unplanned expenses? Maybe you are just going to work with your car and your car just got damaged on the road. So how do you overcome that? And you don't have any money left in your hand. So the best way to overcome that without getting into a debt is to actually take from your emergency fund and repair that car. So you don't have to go into a debt. Maybe you just come back home and your kid have spoiled one of your refrigerators, or maybe one of your office table that you need to use, or maybe your kid wash your laptop. So you don't have to borrow money to go and buy another laptop again. You just have to take from your emergency fund and repair that. Maybe you just wake up and your boss just decide to fire you that day. So how do you live the rest of the month without any salary? So that's why emergency fund is important. You have to be spending, you have to start spending from that emergency fund to cover your expenses till when you get another job. Something I want to emphasize on again is emergency fund should not be spent anyhow. You don't spend emergency fund on ordinary things, on unnecessary things. If you want to spend emergency fund, you make sure that thing you want to spend it on is very essential. It's very essential. It's very important. And you don't have money on your account to cover that expenses. The only option for you is to get into debt to cover that expenses, because it's very important to repair, or it's very important to do maybe a bill, a medical bill, and you don't have the money on your hand. So that's only when you get into emergency fund. But beside that, you don't touch your emergency fund. If it's for 100 years, you have to leave it there for the 100 years. So thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your time and I hope you have a great day.